Steve Kinney, thank you so much for talking with me today here at the Business Forum in lovely Orlando, Florida. You are the Director of Training, Compliance, and Technical Solutions at Smart Vision Lights, and most importantly, you're on the A3 Vision and Imaging Technology Strategy Board. So first of all, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Second of all, you've been in this industry for quite some time. I did a little bit of digging on your LinkedIn, found out you didn't start last year like me. In your 30 plus years, as you look back, I mean, we're celebrating 50 years this year. When you look back yourself, what do you see as being special moments in history for vision in your own career?
For me personally, I came to this industry from doing other things, R&D in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it was like the latest technology, but it was really interesting. I had some other job opportunities, looked at a company called Pulnix at the time, one of the camera companies, to get into this, and found it really interesting and glad that I've remained. But you know, in that time period, for me personally, we started the first of the standards, which are now really important, the vision standards. So I was chair of the CameraLink standard committee for over 20 years there, from when we formed it in late '99 to when it was formally adopted as the first standard in the AIA at that time in 2001. And it became a really important standard. It set the stage for GigE vision, USB vision to follow. The EMVA came on with GenaCam and EMVA 1288 testing, and followed by, you know, GIA, Co-Express, and some of the other standards. So really to see this organization, this group start from that, become important as a trade organization, and then start setting the standards that we're using today to automate and do vision has been really fantastic to watch, you know.
Wow, what an incredible history. You just nicely walked us through there on standards. I'm sure Carol is somewhere out there cheering for you. Carol and Bob.
Carol and Bob, yep.
So tell me a little bit more about that. That's pretty interesting. I went to my first standards event. I was at IRSC this past fall, and it was really cool to see how everyone in that room really is passionate about safety and keeping everybody safe. Can you talk a little bit about your passion for that?
Absolutely. You know, I posted on my social media in the past, sitting in the standards meeting. We have the international standards meetings and rotate that around through the 3 regions. And, you know, I posted once on social media and took a picture. And at that time in the CameraLink meeting, we had almost 50 people. We had 40 some odd people in Japan. And I posted and I said, you know, most of you never see these faces. No one's going to see, you know, no one's going to recognize us like Bill Gates or something in here. But everyone in here is setting the standards that are you know, being used to inspect and make your car safe, to make food, you know, process our food supply, to do all the wonderful things we do with automation. And, you know, everyone here is dedicated for their companies and doing that so that we all have a better environment and that these things work together. And it's just tremendous that, you know, people spend their time. It's you know, standards is not the most exciting work as far as the work itself, but being involved with those people, and everyone that's there has to have passion for what they're doing or they wouldn't be there, you know.
It's very clear that you do too. In order to be able to think through all of these potential things that could go wrong and, you know, come up with standards to kind of counteract that. I mean, that's such a crazy thought process, experiment. It takes so many people, so many years, as I know, to even just build a standard.
It's hard to get everyone in the same direction. You know? That's the other piece I'd say this,
yeah.
You know, as far as the committee work and stuff, we set, especially with CameraLink, it was the first one, so there was no template for it. I guess there were templates because we had people that had experience with ISO and IEEE and that kind of stuff. But in general, there was no template for us within the AIA. And you know, we just had to carve a path. But vision engineers and camera engineers and so forth are really creative people. And you put those people in the room, and I had 36 or so in a room in the early days, and they all got their own idea about what should happen, what direction, how we make this all work together. And you know, it's an interesting process to try and get them from all these different directions onto a common path and move on down the road.
Now let's talk a little bit about, you know, where we're at now, looking forward, smart vision lights. I mean, everyone's talking about AI since last year. Where is that intersecting, or maybe there's other kinds of trends or technologies that are affecting your world and your work more?
Well, I certainly think AI is one of the biggies. It's a hot topic, hot button word. Emerging technology as well. So it's interesting, and I think the biggest thing I see with AI is that people want to label it good, bad. I don't see it like that. It's the next tool, it's under development. AI is going to be tremendous for doing certain types of inspection that's hard to do numerically. I've talked about, and you heard me just mention the food supply a minute ago. People don't realize when you go buy something like a steak in the grocery store and it's rated, grade AA, AAA, whatever the rating is on that beef, that's done almost exclusively by human inspectors today. And it's tedious, it adds a little cost in the process. We certainly want inspection for safety and stuff too, but the grading itself to be sure the consumer gets what they want is something done by human inspectors. But at the same time, it's been because it's hard to describe it numerically. When you talk about, it's not just like, oh, I count how many bits of fat are in here and how many bits of red, and there's some magic ratio. That comes not only from the ratio of fat, but how the marbling is, how the steak looks, how much is on the outside trim, how much is marbled in the middle.
Wow.
And it's been something, I've seen people tackle that and similar problems trying to do it numerically, and it's really hard, and that's why it remains a human task. But at the same time, AI then gives us this kind of human-like inspection that can look at these nebulous things that are hard to describe mathematically on paper and make a similar determination. So you can imagine there's a whole myriad of things in the production line where we need to come down, do these more complicated tasks, and AI is going to open that up for us.
Wow, I love that example because I'm thinking back to a story I saw in the news a few months ago talking about how we need more food inspection. So how great if we could employ machines to do that and help us.
I think I saw a stat a number of years ago that said something like 65 or 70% of the U.S. food supply was currently inspected with a camera outside of just barcode scanner. Probably 100% of it at the grocery store goes past a barcode scanner, which is usually imaging based nowadays. But 65 or 70%, and that number's on the rise. And when you look at it for everything from package integrity to safety, the famous Tylenol poisonings and those kind of things, machine vision is really important in helping us maintain and make that food supply efficient and keep the cost for everyone as well.
I love that. All right, let's think ahead to Automate. You guys are, of course, going to be there again. What are you looking forward to this year?
Let's start with Automate is growing rapidly now at this point. It's the biggest robotic trade show in North America. We're super happy to participate in this and see the growth. More and more people are coming. It's no mistake the pandemic emphasized that our workforce, we're starting to stress it out. We need to automate for our own efficiency and to bring the onshoring. There's been a great U.S. renaissance in U.S. manufacturing, and automation and robotics are certainly key, and vision is a part of that, or certainly key to that. So I'm excited to see the biggest stage ever for us, and that companies are recognizing that what automation can do for them and increase efficiency, profits, and all those things for us. You also got to recognize that we're going to do the certified visual professional courses there. So, back to the workforce, automation's not necessarily just displacing people, it's offering jobs and opportunities in this area to make things better. A3 offers training, our certified vision professional courses there, and I encourage everyone to come and sit through tracks of that and get certified.
Well, actually, since you brought that up, let's unpack that a little bit more. Let's say I worked in the industry, I'm curious about expanding my skill set. What happens when I come to Automate and I come to that?
Well, certainly the CVP training itself, this is a complete track where we have, courses from end to end. There's actually two tracks. There's a basic track, so if you know nothing, you can come to the basic track and start learning. And there's, a camera and sensors course. There's software courses. There's machine building. There's optics. and we'll run you end to end through all the kind of pieces that make up automation system and what's important. And you can take it for your own knowledge, or you can pay a little more and take the test and be certified at the end, which certainly looks good if you're trying to get hired within this industry. And then once you have a little experience in other things, then I encourage you to go ahead and take the advanced track, which is very similar, same kind of steps and courses, but at a little more advanced level to get you an advanced certification there.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm so glad we got to talk about that. I didn't expect it, but I think that standards are something that we haven't, like you said, they're not sexy.
No.
It's not fun to sit there and read a big, thick book, but when you look at the critical importance of it and the way that it affects us all in our daily lives, we're really excited about standards.
Absolutely, the end result speaks for itself.
That's right. Well, Steve, it's been so much fun talking to you today. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you at Automate.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for having me.